you must have seen the flow I am keeping. The flow what I am keeping is I am writing the Guru's profile and then the Guru's childhood life, which is not actually of importance. Then I talk about the Guru's trivial matters, like what he faced difficulties and how he is plus and minus, which is also not of importance. Then I talk about his contribution, the books, the ashram, which is important. And then I talk about the yogic philosophy which he has recommended, the change in the philosophy, which is very important. So we have to always focus more on yogic philosophy. So today we will talk about Krishnamurti. We have already covered 3 Bengali gurus and 1 Tamilian guru. So today is again 2 Tamilian gurus. Okay, so it will be balanced. 3 Bengali, 3 Tamilians.
सुबह रिकॉर्डिंग चालू करो।
चालू है
नहीं, पॉज दे इधर। हाँ ठीक है, बराबर है, करेक्ट। योर स्क्रीन यू आर एबल टू सी इन द रिकॉर्डिंग?
या Tirumalai Krishnamacharya, that's his name. First, in summary about him, he was born in 18th November 1888, Scorpion, place Chitradurga, Mysore, and his profile mainly is yoga teacher, Ayurvedic healer. He is called the father of modern yoga. Why is he called? That is a very important thing you have to note. Who is the father of modern yoga? Tirumalai Krishnamacharya, T. Krishnamacharya. Why is he called the father of modern yoga? There was a controversy saying that there are other gurus who are also better. But the reason this guy was called the father of modern yoga is because not only he brought a revolution, but his disciples all started new system of yoga. And all his disciples were quite famous. So that is the reason he is called the father of modern yoga. He has studied thoroughly the degree, he has got degree in all Shad Darshans and in Ayurveda also. He is said to have a couple of gurus. We will read about them in the forthcoming slides. In his childhood, he was born in Karnataka.
Spelling mistake.
Yeah, sorry. He was born in Karnataka. And at the age of 6, he did Upanayana. Upanayana, actually, you must have heard this word even when I spoke about Maharishi Ramanna. Upanayana is actually what they do, a ritual by which afterward they start studying, like we do Vidya Arambam. So that is like Upanayana. He was studying Sanskrit and he was very good in his studies, but after his father's death at the age of 10th, when he was 10 years old, they moved to Karnataka because after his father's death, then there was some problem of livelihood. So they shifted to Karnataka where his grandfather, maternal grandfather, was staying. And so he was in Karnataka at that place, Bangalore. And then he spent most of his time studying there the Sikh Darshans. At age 18 years old, he went to Banaras and there he started studying logic and Sanskrit. He studied in Queen's College and then from there he went to Patna, Bihar, and he started studying again Shad Darshan. He also received a scholarship because he was good in studies to study Ayurveda from Vaidya Krishna Kumar in Bengal. So his studies was mostly focused on the Sikh Darshans and on Ayurveda. It is said that yoga master Sri Babu Bhagwan Das taught him Samkhya philosophy. And so he was able to pass the Samkhya exam in Patna. Some disturbances there. I think some disturbance.
Mute करो सर, मान के करो.
Please kindly mute. Okay. Then he heard about Sri Brahmachari. Sri Brahmachari is supposed to be a very good yogi and he wanted to learn under him. So the Viceroy of Shimla arranged his trip to go to Sri Brahmachari. And it seems that he has spent 7.5 years under Sri Brahmachari, who was staying below Himalayas. And there he learned Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Asana, Pranayama, and therapeutic aspects of yoga. Now, the controversy is his disciples were saying that sometimes Krishnamacharya was saying that he had gone to Brahmachari for a couple of years. Sometime he was saying for this years, his own statements he used to contradict. And there used to be additions in whatever he says, or he will go back to whatever he is saying. So frankly speaking, there is no evidence in most of the statement what Krishnamacharya has told. It seems there he had learned a new yoga which is written by Gorkha language under the Gorkha tradition in Tibet. But when he was asked for documentary evidence, he had no evidence to show. And even when he was speaking about the systems of Yoga Kurunta, he couldn't say it properly. So there are a lot of controversy regarding that. Further back to his life story, he was in Varanasi. At that time, Krishna Raja Vadiyar, the Maharaja of Mysore, visited Varanasi. And he heard a lot about Krishnamacharya. And when he spoke to Krishnamacharya, he was quite impressed by his personality, by the way he spoke and everything. At that time, Krishnamacharya was around 42 years old. And then he gave him the job of coming home and teaching his family yoga. When he came to Mysore to his palace and started teaching the royal family yoga, Krishna Raja Vadiyar was so much impressed that he told, why don't we start a yoga institute and teach everybody yoga free of cost so that my people will have good health. And then he opened a yoga school so that everybody joins the yoga and benefits by learning yoga. And to impress people, Krishnamacharya started demonstrating his siddhis. He had a lot of siddhis. He can stop his pulse. He can stop a car with his bare hands. He was able to lift heavy objects with his teeth. He can perform difficult asana also. So Krishnamacharya wanted to please the Maharaj as much as possible. And in retrospect, the Maharaj also used to take good care of the yoga shala and all the needs. They used to teach yoga free of cost to all the students. When Krishnamacharya came back from the Himalayas and he was at his home, he didn't have much work. On those days, yoga was not so famous. So he had to even work on a coffee plantation. And this, when Maharaj came and proposed him to teach the royal family, it was like a blessing in disguise, and he was quite happy. So Maharaj used to take full care of him, and he was just devoting his full time to yoga. And to bring more students, he used to show this siddhis. And because of the siddhis, a lot of students used to come. And because a lot of students used to come and it was free also, Krishnamacharya used to be very strict with the students. If the student didn't perform the way he wanted, he used to reprimand them like anything. And Krishnamacharya was famous for his bad temper also. He used to have a bad temper not only with the students but also with his family members. During this period, he also wrote a book, Yoga Makaranda. But in this Yoga Makaranda, since of course it was under the patronage of Maharaja, there was a section given only to the Maharaja, elaborating how the Maharaja is good and all the stuff. This was the time when he had the disciples like his brother-in-law Iyengar, he had Indira Devi, he had Mohan, he had a lot of people, Patambi Joyce, all these were his disciples. And you used to be very strict with them. The disciples wanted to learn yoga, and that's the reason they tolerated it. There was a condition where Iyengar had to leave Krishnamacharya. And then, even though he was his brother-in-law, he never contacted him. Most of his disciples, after they left, they didn't come back to Krishnamacharya because that's the way he used to abuse or insult them. Iyengar, in his later stage, also told that my time with Krishnamacharya was not so good. However, Iyengar, we consider Iyengar's guru as Krishnamacharya because no other person taught Iyengar anything. And it is because of Krishnamacharya only Iyengar was influenced to yoga. So Krishnamacharya is considered as the guru of Iyengar. Now the Krishnamacharya was under the patronage of Maharaja and he was leading a good life, just concentrating on the yoga, and he was happy. But unfortunately, on 1914, the Maharaja died and his nephew took over. And nephew was not much in interest of yoga. So nephew stopped the extra payment given to yoga, like they are going to the other villages to propagate yoga. So all those things were stopped. Additional facilities were stopped. And Krishnamacharya could feel the pinch. And as such, the Yoga Shala was not getting any fees because it was free. So he used to have difficulties. And the difficulties exceeded when in 1947, when the independence came in, all Maharaja lost, all the kings lost their money and the power. And the first chief minister, K.C. Reddy, ordered on 1950 to close the Yoga Shala itself because it was not generating any income. Now, Krishnamacharya had a bad reputation in Mysore as a strict teacher. So because he had a bad reputation in Mysore, to get students were also difficult. Now, previously the students were coming because it was free, but now if they have to pay and come, it was not easy. Ultimately, Krishnamacharya went to Bangalore. Bangalore also he couldn't do anything. He had once healed a person, a lawyer, and that lawyer contacted him from Chennai, which is Madras on those days, and told him to come to Madras. So he shifted to Madras. And in Madras, he got a job as a lecturer. And now Krishnamacharya has mellowed down a lot because he realized unless he changes his attitude, his behavior, he will not get students. So he had mellowed down a lot. And he started accepting students from all background because now his full outlook had changed. And the challenge he started taking is he started taking students not only from different cultures and religions, but also from different physical background. So because of their physical incapabilities, he had to modify the yoga according to them, according to their needs. And this individualized approach was known as Vinayog. So this is a concept of Krishnamacharya that you have to change yoga according to the students. What are his contribution? He had founded Vinayasa Yoga. How many of you know Vinayasa Yoga? If you know Vinayasa Yoga, just thumbs up. You know what is Vinayasa Yoga? Vinaji, you know. Good. Anybody else knows Vinayasa Yoga?
Yes, myself.
Okay, good. Good. Fantastic. So we will, in the forthcoming slide, we will talk about Vinayasa Yoga also. Can you all please mute? Some disturbances coming. Yeah, thank you. His principle was teach to a student what is appropriate. No need to teach everything to a student and confuse him. He was always having the mentality that he is always a student. So he always wanted to learn more and more. You can see from his profile that he was studying a lot, even at any age. He used both Ayurvedic and yoga to treat people. It was a combination of both. And he had written the books Yoga Makranda, Yoga Sanagalu. This is Yoga Sanagalu is actually Telugu word. Yoganjali Saram, Dhyana Malika, Yoga Rahasya, Yoga Valli in 1988. Yoga Valli. Valli means, Valli is like the creepers. In a tree, you have creepers. The creepers can stand by themselves also. The creeper can become a part of the main tree also. So Valli means those chapters which can be like in Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad, it has got Vallis. Vallis means if you take one section, that by itself is say everything you can know, or else it can be considered like the chapters. It is something like that. That is Valli. Then he also earned the title of Asthana Vidwan. Asthana means royal. Vidwan means intellect, Gyani. So he's got the title of the royal intellect. He opened his first yoga shala on 11th August 1993, and he is acclaimed to have prepared the Patanjali prayer notation in Sanskrit. Okay. His disciples were Indra Devi, K. Patabi Joyce. Patabi Joyce is very good actually. He has done his Ashtanga Vinayasa, but unfortunately Patabi Joyce was accused by most of his disciples for sexually misusing them. So that's the reason he lost a lot of his reputation. Then he has got BKS Iyengar, Desi Gachari, Srivastava, Ramaswamy, and Mohan. All of them had done their own yoga systems. They have made their own yoga system. There can be a question to you: who was the first yoga lady? And the answer is Indra Devi. Indra Devi is the first yoga lady. Remember that. She is a European. This is in short about the disciples. You can see Indra Devi. Indra Devi is the pupil, means disciple. She is known for yoga with the Hollywood stars. She has written a book, Yoga for Americans. Then Patabi Joyce, it was also his disciple. Patabi Joyce is known for his Mysore style. That is his is actually a system was known as Ashtanga Vinayasa Yoga. It is a modification of Vinayasa Yoga. And he has written the book Yoga Mala and Ashtanga Yoga Manual. Then is B.K.S. Iyengar, brother-in-law. Here, the brother-in-law, though he is written as a disciple, he was there for 2 years with Krishnamacharya. On those 2 years, only 11 days it seems Krishnamacharya has taught him. So Iyengar didn't give him the credit of Guru, but Krishnamacharya was the one who showed him that there is yoga which can heal you. We will learn further about that when we go to Iyengar's Guru's presentation. And he wrote a lot of books, Iyengar, and popular one is Light on Yoga. Then Desikachar, that is his own son, and he is known for Vini Yoga. He has founded the school Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram and The Art of Yoga. That's a book he has written. Then we have got Ramaswamy, who is known for his Vinayasa Karma Yoga, and that is Vinayasa Karma Yoga is actually Krishnamacharya's yoga, which he has just continued it, and he has written the complete book of Vinayasa Yoga. Another student who is still alive, Mr. Mohan, A.G. Mohan, he is known for Swasthya Yoga and Ayurveda. He has written the book Yoga for Book. Now, the very important aspect on what are the teachings of Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya's teaching is number one, Vini Yoga. Vini Yoga means he is suggesting an individualized approach to the student based on their physical capabilities. You cannot give just because two people are having depression, you cannot give both of them the same yoga asanas or yoga techniques to improve. It has to change according to individual capabilities. This is what is said in Vini Yoga. Vinayasa Krama Yoga is, it is a practice where both the spiritual and the therapeutic concept come into picture. Both has to come into picture. That is Vinayasa Krama Yoga. What happens in Vinayasa? That was a thing which we wanted to discuss. In Vinayasa, like you do Surya Namaskar. Surya Namaskar is basically 12 asanas which goes into flow one after another. Vinayasa is also same thing. They are making combinations of various asanas where how do you do asana? You have got asana 5 steps, correct? The first is Paramsthiti, and the way you flow into the asana, then the correct the asana, then how you go back from the asana, and finally the Antim Sthiti, correct? So you're doing only one asana. But here what happened in Vinayasa, you go to one asana and from there move to another asana, from there move to the third asana, just like Surya Namaskar what you do. Surya Namaskar is a set of 12 asana which you go into a flow. Vinayasa also does the same thing, aerobic style. So it is more like an exercise with movements.
It is dynamic.
Dynamic. Exactly. You said the word. It is dynamic asana. This is what is Vinayasa. Now, Vinayasa actually, those who have done Vinayasa will know that Vinayasa has got Surya Namaskar also. Surya Namaskar A, Surya Namaskar B also is there. But Krishnamacharya has never said about Surya Namaskar. Krishnamacharya's disciple, when they wrote the book, at that time they wrote about Surya Namaskar. And they have given A, B, everything. And it is very dynamic. Vipassana is very good. You should all try Vipassana once. Vipassana is very good. Okay, Krishnamacharya was not after any much of a religious or anything. He was spiritual minded. Whenever he was taking a meditation class, he will say,
Are you
Hello?
talking about Vipassana or Vinayasa?
Vinayasa. I'm talking about Vinayasa. Sorry, I
No.
must have told
Yeah.
by mistake. I must have told Vipassana.
Okay.
Vinayasa. Vipassana is not here at all. Sorry. Okay. Krishnamacharya, when he was instructing his student in meditation, he was not religious, and he will say, think of God. If you don't want to think of God, think of the sun. It is nature. If you don't want to think of sun, think of your own parents. So it was like that. Now another view about Krishnamacharya. For us, actually, we are more worried not about the controversies or rumors about the gurus. What we are more interested, not in gossiping, we are interested in their views, because the views help us to have a broader look of yoga. Like there is Ashtanga yoga, all these things are there, but Krishnamacharya particularly stressed that you have to combine pranayama, asana, and dhyana. These three has to be combined to reach the goal. So he was always emphasizing on combination of these three. Surprisingly, Krishnamacharya was never insisting on Shatkarmas. He was not much interested on Shatkarmas, but he was interested on combining pranayama, asana, and meditation to reach these three has to be done together. So when you do any asana, like
Hello.
hello,
Is it in that order or any?
no, sir. It is not in the order. I was going to say that only. It is not in the order, but it has to be combined. Like if you are doing Padastasana, you do Padastasana and you focus on your pranayama, your breathing, and the same manner you also have a bhavana of surrendering. So that dhyana also comes in. So that is a mixture where he was telling, do one mix, move to another asana, mix all the three. That's how you have to do. That was his views.
It's like a Sayama.
Sayama. But Sayama is different because this is pranayama asana. Sayama is different, but this is like pranayama, asana, and dhyana mixing. Sayama becomes dharana. Yeah, Sayama becomes dharana. Yeah, same time. Yeah. Correct. Okay, the Vinayasa, what happens is he has taught Vinayasa, but the Vinayasa, his students, they change the Vinayasa into different forms. Like today's what you say about power yoga, it is a style of Vinayasa. Patanjali Joy's Ashtanga Vinayasa Yoga, that is also a form of modification of the Vinayasa which Krishnamacharya has taught. So here, core strength Vinayasa Yoga, all these things are just a modification of actually what Krishnamacharya has taught. Now, Vinayasa can be done in two methods. One is what I told you. What I told you was from one asana go to another asana like Surya Namaskar. You can make combination of anything. Like you can make Parvatasana, goes to Ashtanga Namaskar, go to Bhujangasana, back to Parvatasana. You can make some combination, whatever you feel like. Maintaining a flow. That is the one method. Second method, what he was talking about is for doing any asana also, there has to be some steps. Like first you do intermediate. First you achieve this, then you go. Like if you have to do Pavan Muktasana, first you just lift the leg little, then fully, then do one leg bending Pavan Muktasana, then you do two leg bending Pavan Muktasana. Step by step you can go. So this is what it has been told in Vinayasa. At the age of 96, Krishnamacharya fractured his hip. So from 60 till 96, he was a different personality. Before 60, youth till 60, his nature, character, I can't say character, his nature was different, behavior was different. From 60 till 96, he was more mellowed down and he had fractured his hip, but he refused to do any surgery. And he was doing only self-treatment. But on the bed also, he was teaching people, he was healing. If he can take care of somebody, he was doing that. And then one day he went into coma. At the age of 100, he passed away. It seems even before going to coma also his senses was very sharp. He can hear, he can see, everything was very sharp. That could be because of his regular practice of yoga. So this is in brief, which is very important from our examination point of view, like a cheat sheet. It is the name of the guru is Sri Krishnamacharya. His original name also was Sri Krishnamacharya. His guru name I have written Brahmachari, but there are others also who claim that they have taught him. Brahmachari is one. Krishnamacharya has told that I have gone to Himalayas and learned under him. His date of birth, date of death is written. His ashram is Yoga Mandiram. Yoga Shala was also there. Yoga Shala was under the Maharaja. Then his yoga philosophy is Hatha Yoga only. Vinayasa Yoga was the one, but it is basically Hatha Yoga. His major works was Yoga Makaranda, the legacy of T. Krishnamacharya, his biography, Yoga Sutras, and his prayer to Patanjali. The other gurus which has been written is Sri Krishna Brahma Tantra, Yogeshwar Ram Mohan. Babu Bhagwan Das is the one who taught him the Samkhya philosophy, and he passed that Samkhya exam. And these are the books he has written, which we have covered before. His yogic viewer, teach what is appropriate to an individual. Don't teach everything to an individual. He is known as father of modern yoga, and these are his disciples. These are some questions which I have written just for your revision, but I have highlighted it also, so it is easier. And this was T. Krishnamacharya. Any questions on T. Krishnamacharya? Okay, let us move on to Iyengar then, because Iyengar is a little big and we are short of time.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
His grandson is also now carrying out the work.
Correct.
Taken the
You're correct. You're right, Mr. Saradji. You're right.
Yeah.
His grandson is the one who is running now. They have got Vinayasa. The book also has been written by his grandson now. He is handling everything. Yes, you're right. So let us move now. Let us move now to
one question.
Yeah. Tell me.
Actually, asking in level 1, 2, 3, who is written Yogena Chittas, जो prayer है, like वो prayer. So answer will be T. Krishnamacharya.
No, what you have to do is when they ask you this, you can say officially it is not stated that who is the author of Patanjali prayer, but only T. Krishnamacharya has been claimed to have written it. You can say like that. Because officially they have not stated. So you will see anywhere it is written Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali prayer, you will never find that it is written by T. Krishnamacharya. Because we don't have the proof for it. We have never got the proof for it. But he is claiming that he has written it. And even his grandson, his sons, everybody is claiming that he is the one who has written it.
Because yes, I am finding on Google, no? So there mentioned
correct.
Bhoj Vritti and Raja Bhoj actually. So
yeah, maybe, but this is what is the Vinayasa full schools are saying that it is he who has written it. That's the reason. Okay.
Thank you.
And then we moved on to Iyengar. 1 minute. Yes.
Krishnamacharya.
Yes. अरे क्या हो गया? Just a minute, huh?
Please ask the questions at the end, please. शरदजी शेवटी विचारा. रेकॉर्डिंग चालू आहे ना?
हॅलो, विसरतो मी नंतर म्हणून.
अरे लिहून ठेवा ना, मार्क करा ना.
Okay? Can you hear me? Okay. Iyengar is a very important guru because most of the courses you will find the guru as Iyengar, and there will be a lot of questions asked about Iyengar. So this is something you cannot avoid. Iyengar, Vivekananda, and Aurobindo. Those are the gurus which always you will find some questions or other. Okay. So his full name was Belur Krishnamachar Sundaraja Iyengar. The South Indians usually have a very big name. So this is one of that. Okay. And he was born in 1918, Karnataka, but he is actually a Tamilian. His wife was Ramamani, and date of marriage was 14 July 1943. Date of marriage is given because his wife seems to have supported him a lot in his yoga pursuit. So that's the reason it has been written. And of course, the profile is he is the one who has found Iyengar Yoga and yoga teachers. And his views were props and alignment. Now I want to ask you a question. In Surya Namaskar, what is overlooked? Which asana is overlooked? Anybody can say? No. At least write it in the chat box. Nobody knows. In Surya Namaskar, what has been overlooked? In Surya Namaskar, I will give the answer. In Surya Namaskar, what is overlooked is the inverted asanas. Inverted asanas are overlooked in Surya Namaskar. And why inverted asana is important? Now you will tell me, inverted asana nahi kiya to kya hota hai? Inverted asanas has multiple benefit.
Correction of the postures or our spine alignment.
No, not
blood
no,
flow.
Heart
no.
position.
Yeah.
Heart position.
Correct, downside. That's right. Sharadji, you're also right. Let me explain now again. What happens is when you do inverted asanas, number one, the lymphatic flow is good because the lymphatic channel doesn't have valves. So what happens when the body sends the nutrients and near the cells the nutrients are lying, the extra nutrients, those get collected in the lymphatic. And when the lymphatic circulation gets filled up, it goes to the heart and gets recirculated. When the lymphatic doesn't have valves, so it doesn't push. There is nothing to push it. So when you do inverted, the lymphatic flow is faster, it gets the heart, and the nutrients comes to the body fast. So you get an energy faster in the inverted. Number one. Number two, the blood from the leg, example, the blood from the leg to come up, there are valves which push us. Now when you do the reverse, that valves get relaxation and other set of valves come into action. So there is an exercise to the valves which is not in use, and there is relaxation to the valves which was in use. So we are going anti-gravity, which helps the body. Third benefit, like Sharadji told, when we do a inverted, the full blood comes to the heart. The heartbeat doesn't increase, but the volume of blood which is pumped is more. So now all these benefits are there, but I cannot do inverted. If I do inverted, I might fall down. At this age, I cannot take a risk. So I am losing all the benefits. That is what Iyengar came into a solution. Use props, use the wall, use pillows, use blankets, belts, and get into that posture. By getting into that posture itself, you will gain all the benefits. So Iyengar is the one who came into the props suggestion. He brought a revolution. Previously, everybody used to do exactly as per the asana. They were not taking any supports. But Iyengar told, no, you can use the props, but don't use it always. Once you master it, slowly remove the props. Second thing, what Iyengar insisted was on alignment. Anybody has an idea what is an alignment?
Like the spine has to be the way it is in the posture, because normally when we take any posture, we are humping or the back is not straight. So
Okay.
he gave more importance on the alignment so that the bones and the muscles are in proper alignment in terms of even strengthening the muscles.
Okay. Anything else anybody can say?
Angle, Luke is also written. Angle.
Axis of the body, horizontal, vertical, it should be maintained.
Very good. Yeah. Exactly. I will go into that slide in future. What happened is we have got planes in our body. There is a vertical plane, there is a horizontal plane, sagittal plane, and our body, when we do asana, the body has to be distributed according to the planes. And if the body is distributed according to the planes, then you will not have a problem for being in the posture for a long time. I can give you an example. Now I am sitting here straight. I am exactly straight off. Now suppose I tilt a little here on the left side. What happens is the left obliques are contracted and the right side is extended. After a little while, definitely I will get a pain. Definitely my body will become uneasy. But if I am sitting distributed properly, then I can sit for a longer time. And that is what he was emphasizing, that the alignment has to be proper. Alignment from all angles, from the right side, left side, vertical, horizontal, it has to be proper. And that alignment matters a lot. That is the basic panda. After that, you come to the asana, how the hips has to be, everything. That is the later stage of alignments. But the basic is the body distribution has to be same. And so these are the two things which he has brought in. One is the props, one is the alignment. So remember, whenever Iyengar, what is the specialty about Iyengar yoga? It uses props, it uses alignment. Now his childhood. In childhood, he had very poor health. His health was so bad. It is said that his mother was having flu when she was pregnant. And that's the reason his health was bad. He got typhoid, tuberculosis, whatnot. Everything he has got, malaria, and he was always in poor health. When he went to the school, he failed in an exam also, and the teacher told that the school told that they cannot teach him any further. Now they were worried. This boy doesn't have a good health. The boy doesn't have education. What will be his future? And because they were so worried, his brother-in-law was in Mysore. His brother-in-law was a Krishnamacharya, whom we learned a little while before. So Krishnamacharya called him to Mysore. And then he went to Mysore. When he went to Mysore, Krishnamacharya treated him Gar ki murgi dal baraba, something like that, or what, I don't know, but he didn't treat him properly. He made him do all the housework. And Iyengar felt very offended. He couldn't learn anything. 2 years he was there, but hardly anything was taught to him. And Krishnamacharya was focusing the full attention on his favorite disciple. But fortunately, unfortunately, that disciple couldn't turn up for an important event. And Krishnamacharya had to teach Iyengar. And Iyengar performed in the palace. And when Iyengar performed, everybody praised that Iyengar did a good thing. And the team had to go to Pune Iyengar was sent to Pune only after the 11 days training. When Iyengar reached Pune, Iyengar was the youngest. And there were other people who knew yoga. Iyengar had a problem with English and Marathi also. So what Iyengar used to do is, Iyengar was scared that if he goes back, his brother-in-law will trouble him a lot. Iyengar used to spend almost 10 hours every day practicing yoga, and he was trying to see how it can be done and everything. And when he was practicing yoga, at that time he realized that yoga is giving him strength. And he was a weakling, but now he is become feeling stronger. So that made him realize, yes, yoga is good. And he started practicing more and more. Fortunately or unfortunately, the students of Pune who had come to learn were mostly ladies. And the ladies were comfortable studying with Iyengar because Iyengar was a young boy. They didn't want to learn with the men. And this gave him an opportunity, Iyengar, to teach them more and more. And he continued staying in Pune, and he never came back to Krishnamacharya after that. He was doing in Deccan Gymkhana Club in Pune. And he was working there as a teacher for 3 years. He had gone there only for 6 months, and he was teaching there continuously for 3 years. He used to practice every day, 10 hours daily. And this practice, he gave the name as Iyengar Yoga. This practice, in the sense, he was focusing more on the alignment. And he was using the props because he was not able to do it properly. And that's how he gave the name Iyengar Yoga for that. And as I told, his disciple were, Iyengar's disciple were J. Krishnamurti, that is the Jiddu. Then this Russian guy, Rustam Jalvakil. And this violinist is a famous Yehudi, Menuhin. He turned out to be a great friend of Iyengar, and he is the one who later helped Iyengar to grow in the West and everywhere. He had gone to meet this Yehudi first, Iyengar, and Yehudi directly told him, I can give you only 5 minutes maximum time. I don't have time to talk about yoga and everything. So Iyengar told, okay, 5 minutes is sufficient for me. And in that 5 minutes, he made him lie down. And the 5 minutes, he taught him Shavasana. And the way he took it, that this guy went to sleep. And he woke up after 1 hour. And he found that Iyengar was still sitting there. And then he continued talking, and they became great friends. And he was totally impressed with yoga. That's the story about him. Then Elizabeth, Queen of Belgium, she was 80 plus years old. But she had earned the benefit of Shirsasana. And at that age, Iyengar taught her Shirsasana, and she was able to do Shirsasana without any support. That's how he taught her. Queen of Elizabeth, a Queen of Belgium. He also has taught to Sachin Tendulkar. He has also taught to Meera Nair, Kareena Kapoor. Kareena Kapoor is famous for her zero figure. She got it doing Surya Namaskar. But I won't say that it is because of Iyengar, because there was some other coach who is taking the credit for that. But she was also a disciple of Iyengar. Okay, now Iyengar's views on yoga. That is very important. Iyengar is a form of yoga which is an exercise with a focus on structural alignment of the physical body through practice of asanas. And this has to be done through props. How it differs from other yoga? It differs from other yoga by 3 ways. First is the precision, that is the body alignment. Second is the sequence of asana being performed. The sequence, he has given a specific sequence that this has to be done. First, the standing one has to be done, then the sitting one has to be done, then the lying down has to be done. First, the prone has to be done, then the supine has to be done. That he has given specifics on how it has to be done. In fact, if you go for Iyengar classes, it will take you 2 years to be on a beginner level. They take a long time. And who has the time for so much time? That's a problem. Anyway, what he always used to say is moving a small amount in right direction is better than moving more in other direction. This is his statements. And he was telling that asana has to be held for a longer period of time because the muscle has to relax and lengthen. That will create awareness. This is what I was talking about, alignment. If you break it into the front, sagittal plane, sideways, if you cut your body, distributing the weight, it becomes frontal plane. If you break it from the stomach area, exactly, the weight is distributed, then it becomes transverse or horizontal plane. This is very important as per Iyengar yoga, the planes, how you distribute your weight and alignments. On a light note, on those days, the teachers used to beat the children. It's a common. We all must have got some beating from our teacher also. But nowadays, the teachers don't beat. So Iyengar also had an habit of beating his students. If they don't do it properly, he will just give them one. There are many YouTube also where it can be seen that Iyengar is beating his students. So his students had nicknamed him as beat, kick and slap. That is the full form of BKS Iyengar. He has built a yoga institute in Pune and he has named after his late wife, Ramamani, because she has helped him a lot. Iyengar was so much fond of Sirsasana that he used to do half an hour Sirsasana even when he was at 90s. Yeah, even after 90s, he was able to do half an hour Sirsasana. So that's it. But today, I don't know, many people are saying that one should not do Sirsasana for such a long time. But I'm not sure about it. Anyway, his recognition. He got a lot of recognition and lot of honors. First, he has got honored as Yogacharya. He got Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan also. He was the day 3rd October 2005 was declared as a Iyengar Day by San Francisco. That is something really great. In China, they made a stamp in his honor. And he has got 30,000 Iyengar students in 57 cities during that time on 2011. I don't know what's the status today. Maybe Luke can put some light on that. On 14 days.
I will ask my brother.
I beg your pardon?
I will ask my brother who's teaching Iyengar.
Okay. Oh, very good. Fantastic. Your brother teaches Iyengar, huh? That's good. Then he was also honored by a Google Doodle. You know what is a Google Doodle? Yeah. Google Doodle is actually that logo will be replaced by whatever they are celebrating, and that name will be displayed instead of the Google logo. So that is supposed to be a very high honor.
Is it a Yankee Doodle?
No, not Yankee Doodle. Okay. Then Yogacharya BKS Iyengar. One film was made on him also, and it was a documentary film by Vishal Desai on his birth centenary. And there was another film also made on him, which is covering his full life story, known as Leap of Faith. So he has got so much recognition. And he has done a lot of good things also. We'll come to that on the next slide. The books written by him are Light on Yoga, which is the most popular book. If you want that book, I have got a PDF version of it. I can give you all. Then he has written on Light on Pranayama, Light on Yoga Sutra. He has written in Marathi also, Arogya Yog, Yoga Kalpatru, and many things else. What are the noble deeds he has done? He has supported the nature conservation. He donated almost 2 million. On those days, please, 2 million means it is only 20 lakh rupees. You will say, what is that in 20 lakh rupees? But on those days, that 20 lakh rupees was supposed to be a very big amount. And he also adopted a tiger and cub in the memory of his late wife. To take care of a tiger is not an easy thing because they require a lot of treatment and a lot of food and everything. So which adopting that means a lot of expenses. He promoted the awareness of multiple sclerosis. And through his trust fund, he transformed his full village. He built a hospital. He built the first temple dedicated to Patanjali. He made a free school which supplies uniform, books, lunch to all the children of Bellur and the neighboring village also. And then at the age of 96, he left this world. This is in short about Iyengar and Krishnamurti. This is a different Guru Shishya as compared to Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Vivekananda. So you can see there is a little contrast over here in the relation over there and relation over here. So any questions on Iyengar? Any questions on Krishnamurti? Please ask me.
You have mentioned about the props which have been used. Okay.
Can I just pause the recording, please?
Yeah.